No.
Somebody's you?
No, it's because he doesn't have eyes. It's not up. Was it you?
Maybe me. I just wanted a little bit of like effect for that.
Yeah. All right, I think we're good now.
Then we can start saying echo. All right, on and on. Ready to rock and roll?
Ready?
All right. So it being 7 PM on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. At the Conservation Commission meeting. And we're going to start with the continued hearing for notice of intent for 85 Main Street, proposed Lucille Steakhouse within the 100-foot buffer zone to a BVW. Calling Julie Rogers, 85 Main Street, Bellingham, and Mike McBride, Engineering Associates, Hartford Ave. Oakdale.
Use old fashioned paper if that's okay. Can I set it up here? Sure. We got a music there that's on shaky ground. Time for a new one. Thanks very much. Good evening all. My name is Michael Dryden, Senior Project Manager at Allen Engineering. We were last here before the commission early January. Unbelievable how quickly time flies. We did ask for a couple of continuances because the project did go through a value engineering exercise. It was reduced in scale. Most of the changes that were made with the building program are interior, so the building footprint itself, the general layout of the parking, things of that nature, stayed the same. So what I'd like to do is just go back to the January 10th meeting and just, based on my notes, kind of go through some of the concerns that the commission had, let you know what we've done to address those concerns. Same thing with the subsequent site walk that we had on January the 20th. So most of the discussion back on January 10th was relative to snow storage. We initially were showing two things in the back of the site within the buffer zone, some staging and storage for construction purposes as well as snow storage. So the message I got was to take as much of that snow storage out of the buffer zone as possible. The peer review consultant for the planning board had the same exact comment. So the plans that are before you this evening show a very small snow storage area right here. It's outside of the 50. It's about 60 feet from the wetland at its closest point. The other thing that we discussed was some sort of barrier to limit snow being pushed further than that. So what we are proposing is a split rail fence, relatively inexpensive, but a barrier in the back that'll serve a aesthetic purpose and prevent snow from being pushed down the slope. So that's what we are proposing currently.
Excuse me,
Sure.
do we have these?
This is the original.
No, you have all the, I submitted all revised plans.
Okay. To me or to Amy? To me?
Yes.
I believe you.
I got you right at your office and emailed the plans as well,
Oh, yes,
When was
that's
it?
right.
over 2 weeks ago.
I only posted to them the peer review. Forgot about that. We can put it up on the screen for you. And I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but they're not current. Previous is not current. I have the other ones.
Do you have those available plans?
Yeah, I just gotta search the email real quick.
I do have a flash drive too, I believe.
Is it okay if you keep talking while I do this or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
again, the changes are very minimal, so I can easily walk you through them. They're in front of you on paper, and hopefully we get to see them closer up when we locate the files.
Okay, put my laptop.
Maybe, we'll see. Thank you. Appreciate that, Austin. The second item I had on my list from the 10th was to curb the dumpster pad, which is located right here. So we did provide a concrete pad, concrete curbing. Any runoff from the dumpster pad does flow into a catch basin immediately adjacent to that area, so it flows back toward the site into the drainage system. There was a,
Excuse me, and the dumpster is fenced, correct?
it is, yep, fully enclosed. I'm gonna flip the page here to talk about the next item quickly. The grading and drainage plan. You may recall on the original plan that you have that the outfall to the subsurface drainage was sort of perpendicular to the slope, and there was some concern not only at the initial hearing, but during the site walk as well. So what we discussed in the field was sort of just angling that outfall, doing a little bit of grading, which would allow a much greater riprap apron here to prevent scouring and erosion. And I will also note that there's, in the 100-year storm, there was barely any flow coming out of that pipe, so we really have belts and suspenders on this situation now. We have very little flow, but we also have, I believe it's a 14-foot long apron. There was a lot of concern about it, so we wanted to nip that in the bud. So I hope we've done that to your satisfaction. Just to touch on those are the two items that I had from the 10th. The peer review was conducted on stormwater through the planning board, that's BSC group. And to date, we have reconciled, I believe, 30 of 32 comments. And there's a couple outstanding. We're before the planning board tomorrow night to discuss these outstanding items as well. They're easily addressed. Just so you know what they are at this point, again, all the stormwater management comments are addressed. For some reason, BSC group continues to be commenting on groundwater elevations, which respectfully, in our opinion, it's not even close to an issue here. The site is in fill. It's been historically filled since the late 60s. It's 20 feet above the wetland elevation, and below that fill material is beautifully draining sand. So in order for the groundwater to be an issue with our subsurface drainage system, literally the elevation of that wetland would have to go up 15 feet and less than 100 feet. It's just very obviously not an issue. So the peer reviewer even states that we agree with the applicant's assertion that groundwater will likely not be an issue. They're still asking us to do some filter analysis and other, I think pointless, quite frankly, pointless exercises to prove where groundwater is. What we did was we dug as deep as we could with a rubber tire backhoe to about 12 feet in the fill. In some areas, we got below the fill to the naturally occurring material. In some areas, we did not. But we never encountered weeping. We never encountered any sign of groundwater modeling. Again, because the wetland, we are still well above the wetland elevation, 8 or 9 feet at the bottom of our test pit. So we're hoping that we can work through these remaining items with BSC group. The only other outstanding item was they have some comments about the operation and maintenance plan relative to pesticides, fertilizer, salt, sand. So what I wanted to ask the commission is if you had any sort of specific language that you would like to see in the O&M, because we're going to pick it up and revise it. I want to make sure that we capture any comments that you may have regarding the O&M. So that's where that stands. And then let me just flip to my notes to the site walk that was conducted with the commission on January 20th. I think we sort of rehashed a lot of the same things. I had staked out the 50 and 100-foot buffer zone so you could get a visual in the field as to where that was. We talked about the fencing again. We talked again about the riprap pad. So we've addressed all of those items. So with that said, I'm here to just answer any questions that you may have, and hopefully we can, in the near future, close this meeting. And when I say near future, even if you were inclined to this evening, considering we have a meeting with the planning board tomorrow night, we want to keep this meeting open in case they have any comments. So the ideal scenario, again, if it be the pleasure of the commission, is that we keep this open, meet with the planning board tomorrow. Hopefully they're willing to close, and we can come back here before the commission in 2 weeks and hopefully close this out as well. My client is very anxious to obtain permits with spring here. They're certainly ready to break ground, do demolition for the existing restaurant, and ultimately break ground for the new development.
So that's the December 7th.
That's the initial submission.
Okay,
The
This-
revision is 3/8.
I think I found it, but I think it's because I had it saved under the
Oh,
date, and that's why, but I did just email it.
Yeah,
to
the
you.
original, the initial date does jump off the page of you, but you have to look at
Right.
the smaller dates.
Any questions?
No question, just a comment. Everything, you go first.
We'll say that the Grimsdale test is part of our bylaw. That's why we require it.
I wasn't aware of that, quite frankly, that it was part of your bylaw. I've done several other, I'm not disputing that, but I've done several other projects and it's just never come up, so,
Only
And
when you
again-
can't find the seasonal high groundwater level.
I'm sorry?
Only when you can't find the seasonal high groundwater level.
Right, but again, it just, if you dig 12 feet and you don't hit it, and your subsurface drainage is above the DEP required offset from the bottom of that excavation, you assume that to be groundwater. So it's, again, it's just painfully obvious to me that we don't have a groundwater issue. But if that's what we need to do to satisfy the peer review consultant and the commission, I mean, that's what we'll do, but.
What I was gonna add to that was just, your patience is needed. This commission has received a large quantity of issues where wetlands have appear to have moved, groundwater levels are normally high by 30-year measurements.
Sure.
So there's a watchfulness to make sure that we don't miss something.
Understood.
And only from the evidence of what's been coming before us within our own town. Right.
And I totally respect that. I just would suggest that, we let sort of common sense prevail on this particular one.
Understand?
Yeah.
So which site, site civil set?
Yes, it should be dated March 8th.
It's, number 13. Yeah, 13824. C4.
In terms of O and M, I can't see I can't see it from here, obviously. Mechanical structures. What do we have for mechanical structures on the inlets? The drainage system.
You mean proprietary structures?
Yeah.
There's no proprietary structures. We've met the standards, with the treatment train, deep sumps, hoods, that,
And you're not taking any credit for sweeping.
we do address that in the O and M. That's sort of a boilerplate item for us.
Yeah, we don't allow that for.
We didn't take credit for it. And I know your peer reviewer is well versed in the town, so.
So regular clean out, regular inspection, regular reporting
Yes.
on the subsurface systems.
It's the same information we've submitted in town many, many times.
Yep.
And you're proposing a split rail fence to delineate the snow storage
Correct.
area. Do you think any signage on the fencing would be appropriate?
If that's only shown in the back.
What
So do you have any highlighted area as far as where the
Snow storage.
line is?
Sorry.
Side.
I'm not asking, I'm just.
I was just thinking, in addition to the fencing, maybe some signage on the fencing saying no snow beyond this point, that kind of something along those lines.
Okay.
We're not gonna use more. I don't think we need our badges.
No, not. for
No,
this
but I
one.
just think
There's no wetlands.
some additional,
From entering.
No snow beyond this point.
yeah, just as another little reminder, not that they'll see it or pay any attention to it or make us feel better.
Okay, that's easy. I'm sorry.
Where is the line of the fence line on that?
The split along the back?
Yeah, can you point it out?
Yep, it's right here. Okay. So we have a small snow storage area here.
Is that the 50-foot?
Yes.
Yeah, looks to be about 5 to 10 from the 50.
Yeah, it's about 60 feet. Yep. Which is consistent with the peer review consultant asked us to do. The challenge we have is we didn't want to put it all up in the front because it's difficult to move snow from the back all the way to the front. So we want at least a small area in the back just to deal with that rear portion of the site. The rest of it can be filed toward the front of the site.
Problem with that storage site is that it's outside of your catchment area for runoff. So anything that gets.
It's actually, it's pretty
Anything-
flat.
Yeah, but anything that gets deposited there is not gonna go through the treatment process. It's going to potentially flow overland.
Some of it may, and we can certainly adjust the grades to tip it back toward the parking lot. That's easily done as well.
It's just a concern with the contaminants that are typically in piles of snow. uh, Being on the 50-foot line is a problem. So if we can do something to maybe pitch that forward and get some of that runoff back into the treatment. The treatment cycle, that would be good.
As I look at the grades, the majority of it will already flow toward the front. But manipulating a couple of contours, we can easily make that happen.
Anything else? Any other comments? Hearing none, seeing none. What is your commitment to pleasure? Given that the applicant has not requested us to move, but pending the planning board hearing tomorrow.
Send it to the next meeting.
No, currently, we only have two on the 10th.
Yeah, let's continue to the 10th. I'll entertain a motion to continue the 10th, and we want to start in on the order.
Yeah.
Get that ready and possibly have it ready for next week. Maybe. Barring any changes from.
Okay.
Planning board, of course. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of the April 10th, time to be determined.
It's needed, I'll second that.
You have to move it.
Oh.
So moved.
So moved.
Yeah, you said.
Now you second.
Now I said,
There we go.
I'll get it down soon.
That's all right. We'll get you a copy of Robert's rules. Okay,
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
You want to vote, Neil?
sorry. Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
You're
Hi,
in.
Mike O'Haron online.
Okay, now we're good. And now I need a copy of Robert's rules.
They all need-
I have one somewhere.
Bedside reading.
Yeah, yeah, what's your? Parliamentary procedure, yeah. Pass it. Okay,
Noel has joined us online.
hello, Noel.
Hey everyone.
All right. So. Pretty much right on time. So being 7:15 PM, we're going to continue the hearing for the notice of intent for 217 Hartford Avenue. 700,000 square foot warehouse, BBW bank land underwater impacts under the WPA with mitigation through 39,358 square feet of isolated wetland vernal pools under the bylaw with mitigation. Jeffrey Curley, WS Development, Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill, Brian Madden, LEC, Environmental Consultants. Austin Turner from Boulder.
The Austin.
The Austin Turner.
It's Jeffrey, by the way. JEF. That's the way it came through on the draft document. Jeffrey. JEFFY. That's what he goes by on the weekends.
Did you correct that? or-
TM. Exactly. Got it? Okay. So last time we were here, we were kind of getting to, I guess, call closure. And the commission via Hannah and all the efforts that the team has put forth. We saw we'll call it progress of the order. Monday, right? Or yesterday. Yesterday. And then we in turn provided some some feedback on that with the intent that they were clarifying comments. Reinforce what we believe the intent to be based on discussions that we have collectively had over the last 18 months or so. What I thought we would do, at the commission's pleasure, of course, would be to go through your thoughts on the order and then some of the additional clarifying comments that we provided. I don't know, Hannah, has that been circulated amongst the members?
No, they've only
Okay.
seen me in Matt's draft.
Got it, okay. So wanted to follow the commission's lead here, but we had provided, just like I said, clarifying comments in there. Thought that this meeting tonight would be kind of a continued collaborative discussion on what's in the order, the intent, what the commission's feelings are that. We'll proceed in your direction. If you wanted to provide your feedback on how the order was structured, or if you wanted us to go to some of the thoughts that we had provided to Hannah, we're happy to proceed at your leisure.
Mr. Chair. Quick
Yes,
question.
Mr. Chair.
I think that in the 15-minute span allotted for the applicant tonight, it probably would be prudent just to clarify any questions that either the commission members might have had initially with their very early review of the status of the draft of the order, and any questions that the applicant might have about anything they saw in there. Literally just clarifying questions, and no real discussion, I think, is appropriate at this point in time, where the commission has a very long history of maintaining autonomy and drafting the order of conditions. We've been very collaborative along the way. I think that at this point in time, however, we need to have some separation between what the commission's role is in drafting the order of conditions and presenting it to the applicant for their understanding review, which we basically led the horse a little bit ahead of the cart there by doing that, which is good. But I think that a collaborative back and forth at this point in time is not appropriate for the commission based on our history of drafting orders of condition autonomously from applicants. I think it goes down a path we do not want to enter into as a precedent here. I think we're making good progress. I think we're going to continue. I think if we just get any questions clarified where something's unclear, I think that's a good point to be at, and then continue with the drafting of the order of conditions to present to the applicant when it is completed, as it should be in the near future. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. That being said, do you have any input at this point, Mike?
I have just started to review the document. It's pretty lengthy and there's a lot of good information in there. So I don't have good comments and good feedback. I didn't see anything that raised a question initial quick glance through, but I do want to give it the due diligence that it's due. And I know there's more work that's going to be going into it between Matt and Hannah and others. So I don't have any initial questions, but if the applicant or any of the commission members have questions about something they don't understand, that's great.
Would it be appropriate, if acknowledging that the commission hasn't had an opportunity to look at some of the language that we had provided, would it be appropriate if there are any thoughts or questions on that for the commission to route that feedback through Hannah to us so that we can provide further clarification of what our intent was?
I purposely didn't send it to them because I wanted you guys to bring up your specific questions you had so that there wasn't discussion and open meeting law things happening
Okay.
outside of the actual meeting. So I think it's fair if you wish to bring up your top topics you want to, you can right now.
Okay. We can do it. Want me to pop up the screen? We can bring the document.
If I may, then
Yeah.
would the intention then be to communicate the comments or questions to each commission member between now and the next meeting? Or are you counting on this opportunity as the only chance we would get to raise any of these questions? Because we've provided feedback in the form of a marked up document with comments and attempted clarifications on some things. Again, to Austin's point, trying to align with where I think we thought we were.
I think it would be best if we talked about it now, and then anything that we don't get through, we can always continue you guys for a little bit at the end of the meeting, like we've done a lot of times in the past, and then finish it up. And then, I mean, I don't think we plan to issue them at this meeting, right? So we can have another meeting in the future.
And I think we're fine with proceeding with some of it, but ultimately the document will find its way to each commission member. Well, yes,
Yeah.
okay. That's all, then we can hit some of the high points, I guess. Yeah, sure. So I'll just bring up the screen, we can go through. I think my understanding is that we started like 7:18, so 7:33 is the document to cut off. Is that right? Is that what I heard? But I'm happy to go as long as you want. You're gonna see me again.
I actually got him first. Oh, he's in the back. I have to get you now.
Probably,
Is it? Yeah, would somebody mind allowing me to be the host? So I can-
we have some latitude.
Pam, if you don't mind.
Not at all, but which computer is it?
Austin Turner, please.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Should be all set now.
Thank you much. I got it. All right, everybody can see that, right? Looks nice and big. You know how to do this, you know. And I'm assuming that those monitors showing everything that you. All right, I'm just gonna go right down the list. Some of these things are inconsequential, I think. Generally speaking, on the list here. And we'll go through it, and make sure that it's consistent with our records. The only thing that I think we identified immediately was that May 12th meeting right there. I believe that was one where certain members of the commission may have been on site with Matt or Matt's team. We found out about that meeting as a result of the memo being released, so that it feels like it was embedded in here as part of like a publicly noticed meeting, but I don't think that was more of like a, it might want to be referenced separately. It's my suggestion.
That was something Matt added, so I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can check that.
The other one too was the April 20, oh, yeah, the April 23rd. I thought that was on the 22nd. Check that. Going to the Wayback Machine, they were mostly on Saturdays, right?
Yes.
And they were glorious. So that Saturday was April 22nd.
Okay.
So just a clarifying point, so. The list of plans, like I mentioned here, we'll just make sure that it's consistent with our recommendation. Just, I know that we want to have all the documents that were provided referenced in here. So if we see anything that's inconsistent, we'll just send that over as a separate document again, just to make sure that there's alignment there, that's all. And I think this goes to your point that this is a working document translated through the magic of Google, and
Yeah.
there may be some inconsistencies ironed out. Some, if you want to jump to 25 or 2025. Yeah, so then 25, just some fine language, and then where we're talking about the deed restriction, it's we are suggesting calling that a kind of a conservation restriction. I don't know what vehicle ultimately makes it happen, it's probably in the deed, but the conservation restriction, what we've been talking about here, so.
Well, so Matt and I were discussing that there are two different things, and I can't remember what our final thought was, but we went back and forth that there are different processes.
But there's
Yeah.
also a conservation easement with like Board of Health, right?
Yes. Yeah, we weren't thinking about that though. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
The deed restriction expires. It can be renewed at the end of 30 years, but who's going to pay attention to that 30 years from now? So you want to have a conservation restriction implemented per the previous
Yeah.
discussion. And that's what I want to understand, because that can be a very lengthy process and is fraught. So as long as I would just wasn't aware of the arrangement with the shops. Yeah, so it sounds like the way that's written looked good, so I think everything's cool. And we'll just align that text to that condition with the expectation from the shops. So I think we can get that sorted out.
So to be clear, the limits are as presented on the most recent version of that plan we presented, that was dated February 23rd, according to what you have here. This suggested some other things that might be added to the conservation restriction, seem to be including more land, I guess, in the conservation restriction than we had understood to be the plan that was there.
I don't think we were envisioning any additional, anything added to the conservation restriction.
No.
So
I think ultimately the commission would have liked to have seen that conservation restricted extended all the way to the property.
all the way up 495.
No, all the way over to the property line with the Circle G
Understood.
to prevent future access via that. It seems to have been left as a potential future access, as it was originally proposed in the shop's plan.
Agreed. Yeah, that was the intention, was to leave that corridor open there, to extend it far enough to preserve development potential for the southern portion of the site.
And we'd rather see, wetland protection than
Well,
future development protection.
If
So
we-
that's just difference of opinion as to.
No, I understand that, and we would certainly, if we ever propose anything that would come through there, we would need to defend it, and
And as we know, that was a tough road to hoe the first time, so.
literally a tough road.
Yeah.
Understood. So that the wetland replication, buffer zone restoration, and existing bordering vegetated wetlands be subject to permanent protections.
Yeah, in addition to the conservation restricted land. So essentially, this order should establish that all the wetland areas that have been replicated and the buffer zones that have been restored and untouched BVW on the site shouldn't be further impacted down the road at some point. And that is kind of what we were.
So that's again, that is a departure from what I thought we were. We were offering we certainly understand if we were to propose any impacts to any of those things in the future, we'd be back in front of you and which would be making a filing under whatever the appropriate.
Is it your plan to, Jeff, which is why you're objecting to it?
I'm sorry?
Is it your plan to, which would be like,
I just don't want to foreclose on the ability, it's potential value of the land. It's something we intend to own for a long time and manage, and I don't have any immediate plans to do so, but permanent's a long time. And I just wasn't my understanding that we were putting in a permanent restriction, anything more than the conservation restriction we had offered.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mike.
this has been a point that's been raised over the last couple of years by former chairs and other commission members. And I know that Mr. Curley has a difference on that and has expressed it right here, but I'm siding with the memory and the recollection, and perhaps we can find minutes that might have referred to it as this was wanting to make sure the property wasn't segmented into multiple projects down the road, and that it was clearly defined where areas that are going to be protected are clearly laid out, and that is a long-term or permanent protection of them. And that if the applicant chose to, as I guess is their legal right, to down the road come back and try to propose additional impacts to the site or development, that may be a legal prerogative, but from an environmental conservation point of view and the commission's previous statements, I think on the record, we'd again have to dig up the record and see what was said and actually recorded. But I believe that we were looking for permanent restrictions on anything that is protected resource areas and identified as such, as well as much as we were pushing it, and I don't know that it got permanently defined in a meeting, that the areas that are not currently developed on the site, further to the south, I believe would be basically, are areas that we did not want to see, or we were being told there were no plans to develop them. So we would want to protect those as much as possible too, but I don't want to overstep and say something that might not have been said in a previous meeting. I just know this was a point that's been raised multiple times, again, by former chairs as well as commission members during the last couple of years.
So any extension of the use would require a filing regardless. You know, I don't think you can hold the applicant to, you know, holding them to any further development of it without any vetting out of any further order or conditions. You know, they would have to come to the commission regardless, you know.
I think Michael just said, you know, if we wanted to come forward and propose something in the future, we could do so. And I think,
I'm clarifying that. I said if you legally have the right to do so. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if you legally could, but from a Concom point of view, yes, you might have to come back to us, but we were trying to protect the resource areas that we have identified, as well as potentially prevent future development of them, and even have to go through that process is something that if we could avoid it, I think the attempt was being made a couple of years ago when we were earlier on in the process. It may be something that may not be resolvable tonight, by the way.
I guess I'm a little unsure. What is the level of protection and legally and time frame to what's being proposed to protect this
our
property?
conservation restriction is a permanent restriction we're putting in place. Everything else that is under jurisdiction of the Concom, if we were to come forward in the future and propose some impact to those resource areas, those proposed impacts would be judged on their own merits. We'd have to mitigate.
So they're outside, this is air, we're not talking about coming back to renegotiate the conservation restriction or something.
No,
Okay,
no.
So-
Conservation restriction is depicted on the plan.
okay, all right.
And the form we gave to Matt, we're fine with, but this.
We're just talking about the areas that are currently
This appears to.
not under
The
conservation.
delineation is the delineation, the buffers are the buffers. But this document in several places appears to prevent our ability to ever even make a filing and entertain.
So if you're talking anywhere outside of the red box.
Yes,
Yeah, those two red boxes.
Right.
if I were to propose
You're not
something
making any,
inside the red box, no, the red box is permanently restricted,
but outside the red box, it's still yours. You can still come forward and propose further development.
subject to your bias.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and there are several places where that is not what's communicated in the draft.
For example, what?
25 is one of them.
Yeah, I'm reading that. Is
Um,
there a specific designation of?
33 was another one. 27 to a lesser extent. 33 is plainly that.
I mean, the concern with how that is.
And we have offered, you know, or suggested language consistent with what I think Mr. Stanley's saying, which is if we propose something that is within jurisdiction of the commission, we're here, we're defending that impact, we're mitigating for it, we're following all of the standards in the bylaw and in the Wetlands Protection Act to your satisfaction. You would have to demonstrate compliance just as we have here.
But you're not basically putting the entire rest of the undeveloped property into.
Other than
any sort of
the red box,
conservation
yes,
restriction. Okay.
yes.
Mr. Co-Chair, if I could pick up on Tim's, and as I sit here and listen to this unfold, what comes to mind is the semantics of the word permanent. Well, wetlands are somewhat permanent as defined by the Wetlands Protection Act, unless the process is followed.
Right, but the conservation restrictions will be permanent, so anything within the red box is permanent. Correct?
Forever and ever, that's right.
Right. But anything outside is subject, it's still their property, they still have the legal right to propose development.
So Steve, to that point, in 25, it's proposing that the wetland replication areas, buffer zone restoration, and existing bordering vegetated wetlands be subject to permanent protection, just like the conservation. It's adding to the area that's to be subject to permanent protection, which was not our understanding, and to Mr. Stanley's point, we recognize that those are still jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw, and we would need to come make a filing and defend that, those impacts if we propose any. But want to have the ability to do that on the balance of the property other than what's in the red box.
Otherwise, the language effectively amounts to a taking, right? Because it's restricted permanently by way of the order, and we're not suggesting there's something imminently forthcoming, but in the event there was at some point in the future, we'd still have to go through all the appropriate channels, the commission being one, the planning board being another.
I'm not sure that was the intent here because it references the conservation restriction exhibit.
It lists that among several
To
other.
that point, I think, and I'm no lawyer, but it's one parcel. So it's not a taking if you're getting a 700,000 square foot building with, 40,000 square feet of wetland take. If down the road, if you want to use another portion of your parcel, it's not a regulatory taking.
But
To say that you can't further impact wetlands on the site.
I think that might be like a misinterpretation, because when I read that, I read like impact is a keyword for me. Like you can't go in there and impact it, but you can come in and file for additional work. So I think
The problem is it'll, potentially be a completely different commission, theoretically.
Yes.
So you won't, whomever sits on the commission at some point in the future won't necessarily look back to this whole proceeding, say, well, geez, you got a lot of leeway under the bylaw with the waivers and the impacts that we allowed back then. We should draw a harder line now.
And I think
That
this-
will be forgotten.
This is what they're gonna see. And I really like the summary that you guys have had in here. And I think it's very helpful, a lot more helpful than like the one page one that we usually see. But I don't know if we can draw that line other than what we've agreed upon in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think some points to raise, the way it was originally written, it could be construed or interpreted that it wouldn't even allow you to do any like resource area improvement to the well itself or make the application to do that. Whether it be invasive species management or even if like the town wanted to do any like test wells or anything associated with the adjacent wells, like putting a monitoring well in there, theoretically, there may be a prohibition the way it's written. So I mean, I think there's a way to bake in the cumulative review aspect for any future potential project without having a strict prohibition.
I guess to the cumulative point, and I hear what Matt is saying, but we've spent the last 6-8 months developing a mitigation program specifically for the impacts we're proposing as part of this project. We've had great working sessions with Matt and Hannah and others and have reviewed those with the commission and sought the commission's understanding if we were on the right track. And we understood that mitigation program was what we were proposing. We're subject to hearing critique of it and certainly open to that. We the last couple of rounds of peer review commentary, we haven't, this is a meaningful additional amount of mitigation, if you will, asking us to forego potential development opportunity on the rest of the project. Obviously subject to planning board to conservation commission, but the cumulative word, we proposed a very robust, in my opinion, mitigation program to address the impacts that this project is proposing. A more than 2-to-1 replication of wetland resource areas, an increase in help me drying quality and the vernal pool mitigation we proposed. All of that, I think that is the mitigation program. To the extent that there is a subsequent filing, it would have to stand on its own merits and provide something that is that is satisfactory to the commission at that point in time, but to suggest that there's this is further mitigation that was, again, to the applicant's eye, was not part of what we had been talking about over the last 6, 8, 10 months.
No, I hear what you're saying. And yes, you know, there is a ton of mitigation proposed because there was a ton of disturbance. I mean, a lot. So, you know, we're trying to find a balancing act here between what you want to do and what the act and what the wetland bylaw require from us. Protect those resource areas. So, I don't recall in my tenure on the commission of a site down the road getting further development. Usually it's,
Generally speaking, you're saying?
yeah, generally speaking, somebody comes in and proposes the work on a site, and that's the work on the site, and that's the mitigation, and they get an order, and everybody goes away happy, or not, as the case may be, but, I don't generally recall people coming back and like taking a second bite of the apple, down the road on a site. That may just be because of the nature of the work that they did or the nature of the site where they had already, you know, maxed out the entire site by doing what they were doing in the first place.
The size of the site.
Yeah. You know, the high street warehouses, for instance. They couldn't fit another doghouse on that. And meet the performance standard, so.
Well, I think
It's unlikely that that sort of thing would happen, so, this is a little bit new.
So this situation, they have excess land. They have an area that's been designated no disturbance. Can you bring that back up on the screen?
In addition to that, can we take the area, the location language in 25 and point to it on the drawing?
Point to the wetland replication,
Well,
to the extent those areas are outside of
the red box.
the red box. I don't know if you can do that, but
I'm trying to identify. Obviously, you're gonna concern by the word permanent, fair enough. But I'm trying to read 25 and I was even looking at 27.
Yeah.
And say, where is the area you're specifically concerned with?
Outside of the area that's,
Already
Existing.
protected by,
Anything outside the red box,
right,
that's their property.
But the existing bordering vegetated wetlands, for example, Steve, is all of wetland A, all of wetland M, all of wetland I. Wetland A is the wetland we're crossing to gain access to the property, so I think Brian made the point, maintenance of that crossing in the future, to the extent there needed to be temporary permanent impacts associated with that maintenance. Widening of the road if a tenant required such a thing. We just want the ability to. We're comfortable constricting and permanently constricting the red box. But to maintain flexibility on the property, we recognize we're subject to a regulatory regime. But we need the ability to impact some of these areas that this condition suggests would be permanently protected, and that's taking away our ability to even propose something for a future impact.
back to the,
And sorry, but to tie it together to 33, in addition to the items listed in 25, 33 makes reference to additional impacts to state or local jurisdictional wetland resource areas. The buffer zone, if I'm not mistaken, is a local wetland jurisdiction area, resource area, the way the local bylaw is.
Right.
So this wouldn't even allow us to impact within 100 feet of a wetland, the way this is authored.
Well, yeah, you have to file.
I can't file. This says I can't,
Yeah,
I'm
right,
not allowed
the
to
way
make
it's
any
written.
more input.
The way it's constructed currently.
The way we've edited it, sorry, yes, we have added that language. And we're perfectly comfortable with the edits, but minus that language. It was a permanent restriction. It prevented our ability to even make a file.
So if we were to go back to 25 and after the words permanent protection and added unless modified blah, blah, would that,
Not 25.
well, it starts in 25.
Well, I think 25 should clearly call out the conservation restriction as permanent.
Permanent.
And then,
These areas, blah, 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 subject to permanent protection, if we were to then continue it, unless,
permanent. But then.
But that is the situation, Steve. They are already,
Yeah, the conservation
Jurisdictional.
restriction are already permanent. We're not talking about anything that's inside the red box.
To add portions.
But if they want to come in and modify an area that we've already created or modified or allowed impacts to as part of this filing, they will have the ability to come back and potentially ask for modifications to things that they're modifying right now to build this lot. Not even at the other end of the property,
I brought those
but
up.
around the roadway.
Both are true,
around the roadway, for instance.
correct.
Things that we've already permitted and been through the process and got 2-to-1 replication. They want to reserve the right to make modifications to us. If you can put that back up again, the plan.
and any modifications would have to be 2 to
Of
1,
course.
blah, so on.
Well,
So
we would have to go through the whole process.
We'd have to meet your standards.
For example, if they get a tenant and they needed a guard shack, or they needed a compactor pad, there's no more,
Yeah, there's a condition that allows no more impervious area.
impervious area, so it kind of pigeonholes
Regardless of
them.
whether it's in your jurisdiction or not.
So they're just looking out for.
So we proposed some,
So in
It's
that,
pigeonholing them
So
to
that's-
that language.
the rest of it, I think is largely trying to provide clarity around what I think all of our intention was. And given our experience with the downstream folks that digest these things for us, that there's gonna be lawyers, there's gonna be tenants, lawyers, contractors. This is about making it as crystal clear to them as what we think our intent is. If we've missed the intent with the suggestions we've made or the clarifications we've offered, we're happy to discuss those at the next meeting. There's the 3 or 4 that we're talking about now, I think meaningfully move the finish line for us, which is why they're worthy of discussion tonight.
so in Tim's situation on guard shack, let's say they want another 200 square feet in an area that is designated protected, they would have to find 400 square feet somewhere else.
If we were
Potentially.
if we were impacting a resource, if that
Yeah,
thing.
depending on where they wanted to do and what they wanted to do, there would
Given that,
be.
I'm struggling to find the conflict.
But I think in this, the way the order was originally constructed, acknowledging that it was kind of a advanced progress, right? It suggested that even if that guard shack or scratch pad, or whatever you want to call it, was completely outside of anything in the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction, be it statewide or local bylaw, it was restricted, period. end of
Even
story.
even if you manage to find 200 square feet outside the buffer zone on this
Right.
site.
We couldn't do
As
it.
hard as to believe as that would be.
Yeah.
In a developed area, in a currently developed or proposed developed area. That it would be prohibited under that language.
The way it was authored, which is why we clarified the intent there, to suggesting that if there were changes that need to be made, or there's something else that would happen that we're just not thinking of right now, some point in the immediate or distant future, that is subject to your jurisdiction, and we would come back in here to do that thing with you.
That's true, actually, a couple of years in the future. Want to demo it? We'll put it out.
I hope we're not demoing this in a couple years. But but your point, I understand your point, but I think our point is, we just want to maintain that flexibility, acknowledging that anything we would do has to come back before you. We don't, it doesn't give us the ability to just do whatever we want. It just gives us the ability to do something in the event you ultimately approve it, to make a file. Yeah, even if it's like filing, this says you can't do any of that stuff.
And we've never precluded anyone from any further development on the site that I'm aware of, it just. It
But
tends
this
to be-
language, yeah.
It tends to be is what it is, and everybody just works with what we did in the order of conditions and moves forward, so.
I don't think any orders, though, have expressly prohibited.
Correct.
Right, that's a clear point.
I don't
right?
know that, but, yeah.
Real life stuff, when they start getting into, maybe they demise it, and it requires some modification. It gives them the ability. It's not pigeonholing them to, hey, this is it,
Like Charles River, if you
I was gonna
you
bring
had
up the same
extra space and you
example,
wanted to put in, I don't know, another, a Longhorn
What
State.
about repairing the retaining walls a couple of years ago?
Yes.
Couldn't even do that.
that was difficult.
This wouldn't allow me to do maintenance of things that are in the buffer zone,
And if you had any extra space, it wouldn't allow you to
and it
add,
wouldn't allow me
it
to.
wouldn't allow you to add, something within the parking lot.
There's, as we talked about here, we've sought parking relief from the planning board, sought and received a flexible parking permit to reduce our parking ratio here. But if we do have an end user tenant that is in need of some additional parking down on the southern end of the site, and we needed to extend that road or wanted to extend that road, we want the ability to make that application to defend whatever impacts are associated with that.
Outside that area.
But outside of the red,
Is that cumulative of what was already impacted at this stage?
but again, I think what we're impacting at this stage, I'm not sure what you mean by the word cumulative, but what we're impacting at this stage, we are mitigating at greater than 2 to 1. We're providing vernal pool habitat or hoping to provide vernal. We're mitigating the impacts we're proposing here. We would, if we proposed additional impacts, we would propose additional mitigation to meet whatever
Understood.
requirement.
I guess I'm curious, and I don't have an answer to this, but if you had come in with a package that had an additional 10,000 square feet of impact on the proposal that you're gonna mitigate 2 to 1, so would the commission have worked with you, or would they have just said, whoa, that's too much?
Right, and we're always leery of phased projects. Or potential phased projects, because we don't, as we're evaluating the site and we're evaluating these impacts, we don't get a chance to, we don't have the crystal ball to see what further development and what further impacts are gonna be on the site, and look at that cumulatively.
I understand what Matt is saying, but it's a large piece of land, and 2 to 1 is 2 to 1. If we were to propose more impacts under the original project, we didn't, but if we had proposed, we would have proposed a greater amount of mitigation, or made an effort to propose a greater amount of mitigation, and we would have been through 18 months of process defending that proposed mitigation. But with the ratios and the requirements and the spirit of the bylaw, we would seek to meet all of that as part of a larger project, and any subsequent addition here, if there ever is one.
And we see where the cul-de-sac comes down to the additional parking.
Yep.
And we see the access point left from North Main Street.
That's an existing subdivision cul-de-sac road. You talk about JPI.
No, they proposed
This here.
that one,
Yep.
and then the access through in between the conservation and Circle G. I mean, you don't have to be a mind reader to know that there's the potential for further development in that area down the road. So,
Although it's.
Subject to the commission's.
well, of course,
Yeah.
it's not carte blanche. They don't
Like
have
anything
permit to
else.
do whatever they
Like
want on
anything.
this property after if and when we issue this permit.
Exactly.
But it smells of a phased project without letting us know it's a phased project. And that's always problematic for us.
So I want maybe, unless there's anything not clarified, I think we hear
Yep.
what they're saying. There's no clarifying questions on this end. We just like have other people waiting, and I think that's a
As
good
long as
moment.
this is, the balance of these are provided to the commission and they have an opportunity to digest that, I think we're fine with that.
All right, so when do we want to? When would we like to come back? August?
Well, as quick as that.
How
may
dare
be,
you?
Just throwing it out there. Gotta be.
We've got to give ourselves time to
Yes.
do the job
Correct.
correctly. And 2 weeks is not enough.
No, I think we've made we've made a good effort working together collaboratively, with the commission and the engineers, and the peer review. So I think, definitely, I think you should take due diligence as far as look at the edits and maybe come back at the next meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I would defer to Matt, we're our paid consultant on this. He's been spending a lot of time working on it and has more work to do. Can we test the waters with him and see how he's feeling about a 2 to 4 week window for his schedule and work?
Sure, I'm actually, yeah, I'm teaching a MACC buffer zone class, fundamentals class on the tenth, so I wouldn't be available.
So all present must attend.
I don't have to be there, but if you're asking me, I
No, the
can't be on the
commissioners
10th.
have to
No,
be
all
there
of
for your
us.
class.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Including the applicants.
We're trying
already
to
signed
sign
up.
up as many folks as we can.
No, I actually, Mr. Chair, I meant, Matt, how do you feel about what you need to do to complete your section before we can review a completed order of conditions that has all of your input, all the comments that have been made tonight, and other work that you may still be working on, because I know we're not done yet. We'll
That is
get-
how I understood your comment, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I think 4 weeks would be good to get these edits done and out to the commission with enough time to digest it and think about it and come back.
So then currently 24, correct?
Do we want to have a time frame for us individually reviewing it and putting in any comments that we have? Or
That'd be great. I love those things.
Yeah, we would,
You know I love deadlines.
we would need,
you do.
we would need at a minimum week to 10 days, I would think. In order to be able to have time to go through it.
Process it.
So if you received it on the 12th, or even aim for the 10th
Yeah,
to distribute it to you.
yeah, that would be good, because then we'll have. Some of us have day jobs that are trying to murder us slowly.
Slowly.
So we're talking like.
I don't want to do it all at once.
And I know what the chairman mentioned earlier, would applicant have an opportunity to see this document as it's?
We have to be careful about open meeting law. I mean, to take a nearly finished document and do anything offline outside of a meeting, I would strongly encourage not to. The information can be provided, but should not be in any way, I think, discussed. We don't want to jinx things with violation of something simple by exchanging too much information outside of the public hearing process. So I think if we're saying Matt will have everything on the 12th to us, the commission members, then the 26th meeting, I think would be appropriate to have another round with this and review where we are with the commission members having provided feedback and within our own parameters and amongst at the meeting, go over any questions and so forth, because we do have to keep this as an open meeting process. I don't think we can do that before the 26th, I think. But I think that if Matt can get his done by the 12th, we would be in good shape to do that potentially.
No, I think the question, Mike, was would what Matt shares with us on approximately the 10th, would that be shared with WS and Bowler as well? So that they had the opportunity to look at it. There's not gonna be any back and forth commentary before the 26th. If they had the opportunity to see that document at that time as well, or not.
I mean, I'll throw it out to the commission members. There are some new commission members who don't have any history with us and others that we have more. The order of conditions is being created by the Conservation Commission. It has been a very much mutually transparent process to this point, but at some point in time, it becomes our document. And I think the commission members need to decide at what point in time they feel comfortable saying, okay, you may not agree with everything in the order of conditions. I don't know if every applicant does, but as long as there's no questions about what we mean, we are going to provide you with a order of conditions. So whether that happens sometime in April and the commission members want to go back again and see if there's any questions or feedback from the applicant, that's fine. I just am concerned that we make sure that this is our document and we are the ones that are creating it, the final version.
Right, well, that's why there wouldn't be any feedback if we did provide it to them. There wouldn't be any feedback.
Right, which has
There
happened
wouldn't
in the
be-
past
They
to
have
many.
an opportunity to
many
ask
applicants.
questions or come prepared to. ask.
Yeah, that way we could all come to the 26th. They could see the document and have their comments. We would have seen the document and have our comments, and we might have a more productive session on the 20th.
Yeah, that's
24th. Now he's got me set.
26th of April.
I think that would.
Show up on the 26th.
I'd certainly prefer more collaborative. I understand the history the commission has. But if we, to your point, if we can have a copy of it ahead of the 24th and therefore come in with clarification, we've. I think we laid out a couple of valid concerns and questions tonight in the draft. We want to just be able to do that at or ahead of the next meeting if there's an opportunity to do so. We've spent an awful lot of time and effort and money here to get to this point. And we're not suggesting that this isn't the commission's document ultimately.
No, we want to provide you with the opportunity to review all the documents and to be prepared to, you know,
Yeah.
answer any questions we have.
Better to like give you a 30-page
Yeah.
document and be like, 15 minutes, got a question.
Thank you.
Through the agent, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
If Matt's looking for 4 weeks, and we're looking for another week and a half,
he's not looking for
He's
full.
not
weeks.
looking for.
He's looking for 2 weeks.
I said the 10th.
Yeah.
He'll have it to us on or about the 10th.
okay.
And then give us time to meet.
An MACC fundamentals class notwithstanding.
Correct.
As if he has to prepare for something like that. He's trying to convince us.
Not so much.
To do extra work to prepare for this.
All right, I will entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of April 24th. Time to be determined. Any discussion? Thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Michael Heron online.
Hi, Noel online.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm gonna stick around, 'cause I got something else.
I might stick around. We have my last.
Can we make a motion that Jeff not speak at my other meeting?
It's an open hearing. It is a public. It's a relatively free country, so.
Don't be there to defend him.
Am I off?
I'm gonna take folks back.
Huh?
Am I off the hook?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, are you
Till the
Or
10th.
you just?
I thought you would know that.
Oh,
I don't know.
I feel like it. Good to see you all. Good to see you.
Good night, Matt.
We'll be back in a few minutes to work here.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, 10 left. I was gonna ask him who he's working. Well, the shirt says one thing, but everything else says something else.
I'm gonna sign off now as well, guys. Have a good night. Good luck with the rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Noel. Take care.
So,
I don't know what I'm making not to
Thanks.
work, but I'm not really concerned about it either.
Just the laptop's there, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, running a little late, but appreciate your forbearance. New hearing. Notice of intent, 159. Huh?
Thanks. That's the
What?
second time I've done that.
What? It's not a new
Continued
hearing? It
hearing.
is a continued hearing. It's a C hearing, not a N hearing. Continued hearing. I
Change it
couldn't
right
remember if the last one was just an informational, if it was an actual hearing. Continued hearing, notice of intent for 159 Blackstone Street septic replacement. Michael Savard, Lakeview Building and Remodeling, Bellingham Road, Blackstone, represented by Bruce Wilson, New England Environmental Design LLC, Elm Street in Blackstone, Massachusetts.
Good evening. Also represented by Scott Ambler. I'm an attorney. My office is at 6 Mandan Street, Bellingham, Mass.
Evening, Mr. Anderson. Long time. How have you been?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. Now.
Mr. Chairman online, Mr. Vice Chair, other members of the board, or commission, should say.
With my daughter's soccer coach at one point.
I think everyone's daughter is soccer coach.
Yeah, we all pictures and then
Okay.
11-17 of what I've got up for this name. For the record, the members of the some members of the commission
conducted a site walk on the property on Saturday. What was the date, Saturday? Anybody?
It was,
This Saturday was the 23rd. Did you go the previous
Yeah,
Saturday, Neil?
23rd.
Okay.
How many of these we got? 100? Are they different plans? They look all the same. Would you give us a bunch of this?
I made a bunch of copies to make
Okay.
sure everybody had one.
All right.
And then there's, I don't know if I had enough aerial pictures to go around, but I had gone, into the computer and met with your agent there, all the way back in 2005 with some aerial pictures and some of them, actually, you can see the 2013 photo that's on that sheet that you're looking near. You can actually see the Pacifica very well there. It was in full bloom when the satellite took the images. I tried to identify the limits of what Michael had dug out, and come up with about 650 square feet. And then the fence that I got there represents about 1,300 square feet of replication. You know, you get 2 for 1 there. I'm recommending that we put back the Pacifica bush that was there. It does grow very well. I just handed a bunch of stuff there that identifies the Pacifica, and it's actually a good application here. It has good slope stabilization. It's good for your wildlife, your birds and bees and butterflies. It's pretty readily grows in just about any type of soil, and it doesn't require a lot of maintenance. So I think putting that back is probably a good solution to what was removed that's there.
So you're proposing on this, a fence shown along that line?
Yes, the red line there, the split rail fence with some placards on it. Trying to maintain somewhat of a backyard there, but still get you your square footage. There is still some, for those who were able to go out there, some Pacifica up in the back left. There, so this would, benefit and tie in with that very well. Fortunately, you didn't get into the resource area and damage that at all, but.
Who did
That might be
who did
debatable.
who did the line?
The wetland line was flagged by Russell Waldron from AES. Russell also flagged that line back in 2008, I think is when the house in the back there, the larger parcel out back. I had brought into the office here, the working plans, and left with her the entire project when Russell had flagged it, when originally LaRusso and then Danny Lewis had put the house and driveway with the little culvert front of the driveway.
We had a couple of questions. We had some questions about the wetland line over there.
Well, there was stuff in the wetlands, in the water. And clearly the erosion, protection was put down after the fact. It almost appeared in anticipation of our site visit.
The wetland barrier was put in as soon as I knew Michael had gone out there and started to tinker in the vegetation that's there, so I had to put that in there right away.
I think he did more than tinker.
Yeah.
He cleared that site right up to the edge of the well.
The erosion protection we saw at the site. visit.
Well, if I may, so I was involved in the transaction that actually sold this house.
Yep.
And at that time, I was actually representing the seller. So this house was owned by a gentleman, Thomas Donnelly, who passed away. And his son was appointed a personal representative of his estate. And after getting appointed through the courts, he contacted me to assist him with the sale process of the home. I do know that Mr. Donnelly's son, the personal representative, had gone out into the backyard and done about a 20-foot by 20-foot disturbance in the backyard. You know, because he was trying to determine, you know, first, whether it was serviced by a cesspool or a septic system, and it was kind of like an informal Title V. I heard about this from Mr. Donnelly's son. It was after he had done it. You know, he realized that it was a cesspool and that, it would not.
Septic tank.
But it's
further
not a-
review.
Yeah, but I don't think it has a full leach field or things of that nature, but he realized it wouldn't pass the current Title V standards.
We don't
So,
even see the tanks.
It's, appears to be gone.
in the backyard,
There's no distance from it, but it's right here, the existing.
yeah, the existing one is in the backyard of the
No,
house.
unless there's several feet of earth above it.
I don't think it's been decommissioned yet.
No, they haven't taken it
No.
out yet.
So,
He might have knocked up
That's a
the
good,
riser
that's a
rod.
good answer.
yeah, well, so what had happened, so that was one of the disturbances that occurred out there. That was not done by Mr. Savard. Now, Mr. Savard admits that he had done some work back there in terms of moving the shed that was existing there. And then he took out the very large, I guess it was about a 20-foot wide forsythia bush. He had done that in anticipation of this decommissioning the septic system. He honestly thought doing that work was not in violation of any Concom, protections. He had never done any digging in the backyard, and had no intention of doing any digging prior to getting the permits that he's applied for. So, yes, he did those two acts in which he removed the shed. In all honesty, removing the shed may have been a good thing. Once he did that, he found some buried tires beneath it and some other junk,
Yeah.
which was very close to the, obviously the wetland areas. So he was able to remove those. That obviously, no one wants that kind of stuff buried in the ground over there. And then the forsythia removal was something that would have had to occur due to the size of it, to then undertake the decommissioning of the existing septic system in the backyard.
And I understand that, and all that work should have been done with a permit. All of
Understood,
that work was done without a permit,
understood.
and it is, is my understanding at the moment, it's not the commission's pleasure to put an enforcement order on this property.
Well,
However,
and going forward, I understand that Mr. Accardi, went and visited, Mr. Savard on site to express the concerns that the various townspeople had about what was happening. At that point, Mr. Savard, again, he thought that he could do that limited work that he did without permits. He was wrong.
it was wrong.
Understood?
100%.
Going forward, it will never take place.
Yeah, who from the commission has been there? Oh, everybody. Okay, so, as far as the bordering vegetation, the wetland line is that in question?
Yes,
Oh, that's okay. So the flagging?
yes.
Any
The
particular,
engine in the wetland
yeah, okay.
is,
Any particular
Another
flag,
material and.
any particular flag that's,
There was one in the middle of the.
The one in the water,
And
it was
then
like a
there's
stick.
up on the.
so six maybe? Okay.
I don't know if that was
Yeah.
intentionally placed there, if it fell there.
And I
don't
couldn't
know.
go
Yeah, I
see
think
a
so.
number
Might have
because of water.
disrupted. I know when we had the flags located, they were very similar to the line that was originally depicted. Some of them probably still had some of the original flagging still on it when Russell went out there, but
Is it,
I know I was just out there this afternoon.
is this a pit?
I know the
Bruce, or
soils
is
are
this
gonna be
a-
difficult due to historic fill,
Is it, is
There
there
is
a
old
pit-
fill,
existing pit
old
here or
historic.
what?
There was,
probably from when the
there was
house.
a cover at one point, but I think it got knocked off or something. But
So it's a pit,
there's
or are they lines off this tank?
I didn't
Okay.
have anything to do with the Title V, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Can I
And I don't believe the Title V, I don't think the existing, folder in your office has anything on the.
No.
You will
It was
skip
like
right
an
past the
yeah.
Title
It was
V of a new
original,
system.
it was original.
Why do the Title
Pretty much
V?
nothing.
Well, they knew it would fail. I mean,
So why?
the original one would have been installed in the sixties.
Yeah.
And I don't think the inspectional services even has plans on it. So,
A lot of them we don't, you know, with that being said, it's the board's pleasure to, revisit these flaggings and do some borings, or how do we want to move forward?
Well, I think what I'd like to see on this plan is that stream depicted,
There's no stream on the property.
it was flowing when we were.
Yeah, we had some serious rain events. There's an 18-inch culvert that goes under the driveway, and then the town's drainage is dropping in up gradient into that. So I mean, if you're out there and it's
Okay,
after a big rain event, it's gonna have some flow.
we've had a
But
historical amount of rain this winter. If that was a stream, then the house in the back would have never received approval from this commission to be built.
Upgrading.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a stream, that house couldn't have been.
So let me ask you this, is there an easement from the town for a culvert? Are you saying there's a culvert from the?
Like
There's a
90%.
catch
On-
basin that-
No easement?
no, I don't think so.
Well, is it?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Okay, whatever that water that was flowing was,
Yeah.
we want it on the plan. Whatever it was.
Is that from a catch basin on this?
There's a-
You're talking about.
Yeah, the source is immaterial. The source of the
You want it
water.
located.
The source of the water is immaterial.
Searching for
It's
my.
flowing water. It's flowing water. And we have that, that's a fact.
Okay.
So where it comes from comes from out of the sky.
It's
It's there and it's flowing.
It's,
So
the technical word is ephemeral connection or intermittent
we
stream.
had flowing
But I
water.
was out there today, there's no flowing water.
We would be
An
interested.
intermittent stream is still protected.
Yes. It's not our intent to go in there. We're working with a previously
Correct.
disturbed area that needs to be,
So she's just asking to
Yeah.
add it.
Well, in terms of the flags, going back to what Mr. Accardi was asking. How, I mean, the ones that you think are placed in error. Distance wise, I mean, can you give me an idea maybe about how
I don't
far
think
you
it's
think?
probably a significant difference. I don't think we're talking significant differences. We just had some questions about some of the flags while we were out there.
Well,
Some of it, some of it looked a little to the commission's eyes. We were unsure as to what some of it meant.
It had the presence of being fixed after it was discovered broken.
Except for the various pipes and engines.
and that's
Well-
possible, yeah, possibly if something got knocked down or damaged, and somebody tried to put it back, yeah.
The only other
There's
question,
literally an engine in the wetland.
an engine.
Yes.
Well, that, I would think,
Obviously.
I know Mr. Savard, you know,
It's
fairly
been there-
well.
It's been there a
Yeah.
very long, it's
Yeah,
been there.
that was
a
not
very long
placed by
time.
him.
It has been there a long
Um,
time. And
There's no car with the engine.
Yeah, no, it's like the tires that were under the,
Upstream.
the shed.
Someone historically
So-
has been,
It was
Placing-
probably not
placing
maintained
things back.
properly, you know, by the prior owner.
So in order to move this repair forward, what's the climate of the board? Do you want to go back out there and maybe take a look at these flags? And maybe, there's only a few flags, you know, would you like to come out and take a look at the flags and maybe adjust them?
well, I think
For comfort?
if it's the board's pleasure to do another sidewalk, that we would want their wetland scientists there to explain the flags.
I can get Russell, or we have an in-house wetland consultant, Zachary Mann, who would also flag for us. That can be available. Yeah. For one of them.
If I may,
That's it.
like, if you want to do, I mean, you say if you want to do another site visit. So I
Well,
look at what's
we
being.
haven't had the discussion yet.
Understood. I look at what's being proposed, so, you know, it was heard, the commission's annoyance, anger, was heard from the last meeting. My client heard it, I watched the video of the meeting, Mr. Wilson heard it, so we also heard what you were talking about in terms of conditions and proposals. So I think what the change that was submitted tonight, what you'll see is that proposed split rail fence is significantly into the backyard of the property, well past and well in from where the silt fence currently is. And from where the edge of the wetlands are flagged, obviously, as well. You know, it's showing a, that they'll replicate on a 2-to-1 basis from what there was in terms of disturbance. And they're going to plant 8 replacement forsythia bushes to make up for the one that was the very mature one, obviously, that was ripped out. And
The remaining,
I got
the
to-
remaining one looks very mature as well.
so the other thing I'd be remiss in not stating is getting past, his improper behavior, which again, admitted, don't want to dwell on that too much.
Correct.
But looking at the overall benefits of what's being proposed here, you're getting the fence, which is well into the yard.
Is this the fence line here?
The red line, yep.
Yes. You're getting the plantings.
You can see the Pacifians that are proposed to go.
So in this,
It's the solid lines right in front of the red, planting
Now,
notes.
the drawing that was presented to Hannah shows that fence entering the 25-foot buffer in 2 places.
So you want to just.
Yeah, these lines have changed. And I don't know,
which lines have changed?
Versus what was sent, and that's on the portal.
right,
So maybe have the applicant, do a site walk with the commission and, agree on the flagging and then maybe put language in saying the fence needs to be 25 feet on the flagging, the bordering vegetated wetland.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously would need to
Lines of fence.
look at the calculations again, but I don't think that this is enough restoration.
Well,
It's definitely not gonna be, forsythia, it's gonna be wetland.
It's not a wetland, it's an upland. So you're trying to plant plants that aren't gonna survive.
the other thing is the forsythia, as stated, I mean, it's very good at stabilizing erosion.
Needed,
What?
Not needed.
It was essentially what was removed, which is causing the concern, I guess, to some extent. So, again, they would grow out quite well. They do provide a good habitat for, the wildlife. Getting past that, again, you're getting, there's not a lot of extra room to, what's showing here is a replication area. You're gonna have very little backyard left for, any future homeowner here.
Yeah, we have.
And you're getting a new Title V compliant septic system that's further removed from the wetland area, which is obviously a plus from the Conservation Commission perspective, I would imagine. So you're not looking at replacing the system in the backyard, being moved almost up to the front yard and along the side of the driveway on this proposal. So the benefits, I think, significantly outweigh. I mean, if you think it's not a 2-to-1,
Agreed 100%, and if it wasn't for the impacts to the buffer zone, the unpermitted activity in the back of the house, you probably have a permit already for the septic.
okay, and again, I'm not, this is not a case of,
We're not even talking about the septic's a good thing. If it's got all of the Board of Health waivers, I don't think we're gonna, I think the septic design, the new septic design, moving it out to the front side of the house, I think is really your only option. Given probably the soils in the back are probably, and its proximity. You can't get it up, you can't get it in, you can't get it out of the 50 foot in the back. And I don't think you're gonna get a waiver for that.
Well, okay, so like also where the shed was removed, that was within 25 feet.
Correct.
So why is that fence line not including that?
So
But
I
also
think,
that would make the fence straighter it would be parallel to the house with, I don't know.
But, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, you had an
I think
existing
he can take the
usage
line, he
there.
can take the 25-foot line and put the fence there. He should redraw, that's easy
Well, and
enough,
I'm not
right?
sure, if I may, I'm not sure that given that area was probably lawn and
Yeah,
use,
It was disturbed.
and use at a certain time, I'm not sure the full 25 feet is
Wasn't
absolutely,
Here's some
is absolutely necessary.
dated photos.
I think we can maybe find, yeah, it should, I think it should follow the line closer, absolutely, but
I'd like to address one, the drawing that was submitted that Hannah put on is very different than this.
Is that the drawing I sent over this morning?
No, that was the original, but he's.
That may have been the original one when the application was submitted. Obviously, we'd be going with what was submitted tonight, which is, updated with the 8 plantings that we're proposing, the fence, the signage with whatever language the commission wanted the signs to include.
Or plantings. If the commission would like a more native species, then I think definitely they can accommodate that, I would imagine.
And I realize that the commission's angry at my client. There's no getting past that. I'd like to point out, he's not a high volume builder. He's had several projects in town which are extremely high quality and have been.
wetlands protection.
we're not casting aspersions on his
Well,
character.
this would be a first strike offense. So that-
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
could I just say, as somebody observing, I think, Mr. Ambler and Tim and the applicant, if you could just give the commission members a little bit of breathing space right now. I think they've heard everything they need to. I think they want to move this forward, but I see it sort of circling around verbally here. So if I think you could just give the commission members a few minutes to do what they do, I think you might see more progress being made here. I think that'd be a valuable moment to just take a breath.
Thank you, Mike.
I think I would like, if I may, I'd like to start the discussion with possibly another sidewalk to verify the wetland line to our satisfaction. Followed by, I would suggest, again, subject to the commission's pleasure, I would suggest a 15-foot buffer. Split rail fence with signage and with plantings, plantings behind that line, the fence following the wetland line, to the extent practicable. We don't want to make little tiny.
No, yeah, if you have micro fencing, you want to try to keep.
Tiny micro adjustments,
Right.
basically, and then, the plantings would be more of a native wetland. Because the soils back there probably will in fact support it, given the high groundwater back there.
Where does the fence have to be relative to the 25-foot buffer?
It would probably be about in that position, that I did a rough scale off, that looks to be about 15-ish.
I think we should.
And that leaves, that does leave, huh?
This is not,
Yes, no, it is, it's about 15 feet off that wetland line. Give or take.
not on the right side.
No, not on the right side, no, you're correct, because it doesn't follow the wetland. At its widest point. Yeah, well, that's what I'm just.
That's my biggest concern.
I just want to start the discussion.
And our confidence in some of the flags we saw, one of them was clearly, I couldn't get to it to read them any print on it because there was water there and it looked like wetlands to me. I'm more than open to doing another site visit. I'll go as many times as you want. But my question is, without having a scientist there to tell us this is the edge of the wetland, I'm just uncomfortable with where those markings are because, they just.
Looking at the vegetation with an auger, taking some soil.
Yeah, so
samples
the
and
applicant
doing
should have the
Correct.
botanist present at
Yeah.
the sidewalk. That's okay, right?
So the augers gonna be tough because it's gonna be added.
Right. So,
They can answer.
and then, potentially, potentially something about maybe a 15-foot parallel. We want to leave, we don't want to have future problems. We want to leave the people some yard. But we do want to put the plantings into the protection we can and compensate for the incursion.
And I like the
that we've
fence,
seen.
having a fence there.
Yeah, no, the fence
That
is
boundary
good.
is-
Yeah, split rail, but with badging, and, we'll put a permanent order, protecting that space behind the fence in perpetuity, so, that goes on the deed, and that's about all we can do.
So
From my point.
I had another question about the 15 feet.
Yes.
Is that a common, I don't want to say common, but is that something that, we're not setting a precedent by going? 15
No.
feet?
No, and well, as I said, if it wasn't for the disturbance in the back, in the buffer zone, the work wasn't done there, it would have been pre-existing and we would have left it alone. We would have just permitted we would have, put up some hay bales and stuff like that to protect when they removed the old tank and put the new system in, and it would have been pretty much boilerplate from there. So it wouldn't have been a big deal because people historically have gone right down to the edge of the well. We would never permit that now.
Right.
Now they have a hard 25. Pre-existing. Yeah, but if it was new development, we would have a hard stop at 25 feet. But this is a bit of a hybrid situation. I think it's an equitable,
I mean, I can take,
I think it's an equitable,
Yep.
line to find. I think the 25, given how narrow that
I
backyard
can
is.
take the line and pull it if it's a simple.
Well, I think once we get the line once we get the line reestablished to our satisfaction, then I think we can discuss the distance and where exactly it'll be,
Yeah.
but I think we can come to something that will work for
I mean, there's been.
the
So
applicant.
would we be
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
contacting the commission when we know the availability of the botanist?
Unless we can if the board has, any openings that they can accommodate, go out there.
On the next site visit, if we could have the fence location staked,
Sure.
then we can see it optically relative to the whole.
That way, if you
Yeah.
want, that way, if you want to.
Relative to the existing line.
I mean, I'm
Roasting-
here to come up with a solution that you're happy with.
Throw some stakes in
Yeah.
at 15 feet to the existing line, and then if the line moves a little bit and we can look and make some adjustments, we could even move the stakes in the field. And work on it from there.
So stake the fence as shown on what we submitted tonight, or
Or you want me to
what
kind
is
And then if the commission
The current
wants,
flagging.
feels that, it should be,
adjusted?
adjusted,
Is that
Well,
what,
we have to-
I would put stakes at 15 feet off the line, just so we can get a sense of where that line runs across the whole thing,
Off the wetlands. line.
off the wetland line. Okay.
that way, if the commission feels that, the engineer can prove that the flagging is legitimate, and if that's where the wetlands are, then it would stay there. If not, the commission
If
would.
there's any
take it.
adjustments, it could move either way potentially, so.
The 1117 with the photo that's over there, are the point numbers on there?
Yes. They're a little.
Yeah,
they're
it's hard to see
read.
them.
There were some dots, I'm not sure what they
Okay,
are.
these were, this was from the original survey, so you can see the old dots are fairly close. When they were doing the work over here, they didn't flag this side of it here, but you can see.
Well, and as part of that property, we didn't look at this one.
No, exactly, I
So-
mean, they weren't even, they were working.
Because we were working on this side of the line,
Yeah.
not this side of the line, because I permitted that house, so.
So Bruce, how soon can you, stake out the fence line?
We got booked right through the next Saturday. I was just trying to, it makes it happier. I mean, I can easily pull this line down. I don't think beating anything over here, but take the line and just pivot it a little bit to where you have.
It's the right side.
Yeah.
They want 15 feet from the bordering.
Yeah,
Because you get the wetland comes in, and then there's all kinds of crap that can put in there. I think you may have done some filling when he put his pool in the backyard.
I like Neil's idea, stake it at 15, and then we can
Stake it at
make
15 on the
a
current line.
fence location decision real time at the next site visit.
I
I mean,
mean,
if the line comes in and makes a big.
Bruce,
difference with that-
Bruce, if you can commit to when you can stake out this line, the commission can do a schedule.
Once you get it staked out, we would be, we can see who's available.
Because you're gonna have to have the botanist available.
No, I know. I'm just wondering if I can get Russell or maybe I'll have Zach come out there.
We'll work that out. I'll get in touch with Hannah.
What if we continue guys for the 24th, so that's a month, and then whenever you can give me some kind of time range, then I will reach out to them saying.
Yeah.
Let's plan a site visit.
He wants to try to get that.
It sounds like you need to get your wetland scientist there first.
Yeah, no, it's simple enough to get either Russ or Zach out there. I mean, it's a very cut and dry, clear.
The sooner you
Where
can
it
do
is, yeah.
it, the sooner the commission can go out and take a look at
It
it.
seems you're struggling with it.
Yeah.
Why is that?
No, I'm just trying to find some time. We're all straight out.
So
I mean,
The
I
date
just
of-
said that just because I thought you needed more time, if you wanted.
We have all the time in the
continue
world.
to the- If
how
you
often
wanted.
do you?
I mean, I'm gonna be-
I proposed
the
an
second
August
fourth
continuance
Wednesday.
earlier tonight. I'll do it again.
So-
I have another filing
April tenth will be the.
coming in, so I'll be here on the 24th.
Can you make it, can you get this done by April 10th?
Oh, yes, easily. I get it. I'm
Well-
thinking like by Wednesday next week.
So why don't you touch base with Hannah
Yeah.
and get the line staked? And so she can inform the board, they can stop by at their, or make an appointment for the botanist to go, so you can put this to bed. And so they can agree on the wetland line and look at the fence line and they can be comfortable with
Yeah, I
it. If
think-
not, they can adjust it and you can move forward.
I want members of the commission to be there with
Yep.
your wetland person to.
That's the trick is get it so he can,
Why don't you touch base with Hannah, and maybe you can get on for the 10th and get your order of conditions. If not, you'll have
I
to,
mean, I can get him out there and flag it and go over it or have Zach meet with Russ or something.
I think they're looking for,
Someone
they're
present,
looking
yeah.
for stakes, 15 feet off the bordering vegetated wetland for
Yeah.
the fence. That's all they're looking for. And then if the botanist is available, they can meet the botanist. If they have any questions with the wetland line, then they can question the botanist at that point. The board's that's what the board wants.
We haven't discussed it.
You good with that?
Just a further question, just again, procedurally. I know that the board, the commission wants to, go up there and be there with the botanist. Is it the whole commission or
No.
just the several whatever members were available?
Whoever's available.
Whoever's
A
available.
good handful, 3?
Probably us four.
All right,
And again, depending on our availability.
Right.
understood.
As long as they're comfortable with what they see.
And I'll be out of town the next 2 weekends.
Okay.
All right, so let's shoot for the 10th
You don't have to have a form per se.
and be hopeful.
Can't have, yeah.
And if it works out perfectly, then we can do the 10th. If not, then we'll have to
Continue.
Continue the 24th.
Okay.
understood.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of April 10th, time to be determined. And work with our agent to, and the applicant to schedule a site walk between now and then if possible.
Second.
Discussion. In Favor?
Hi.
Hi, Michael Hearn online.
Okay, so you get your marching orders?
Yeah.
Are you clear?
I'm just trying to think of a simple solution. If we go out there and say, let's put the fence.
We've given you.
Yeah,
yeah.
We have provided you.
First, we know what we're
We're done with that.
If it got any simpler, I don't know.
We
We've already
built
done
it for you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Adler, good to see you. Same here.
We good with Maplegate?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're representing Greg,
Maybe.
maybe, okay, yes.
Depends how much trouble he's in.
Who's great?
Greg is,
Not on there.
My counterpart.
but Austin's also not on here, he's all
That's
here.
true. Who's not always here?
I feel like I'm all.
He's actually a commissioner.
I'm not going to do anything unless we feel an obligation to, but.
You were on when did you come in on the shops?
When I had hair.
You and me
That
both.
was a long time ago.
You were both, I don't know, I think the first filing was, Scott's was 2008. 2008, I remember coming
You
in,
went from the ground floor on that?
yeah, I was actually designing it when I did engineering stuff. A long time ago.
And, and was the
And we were doing meetings over at
north,
building.
the North Community Center.
Oh, yeah. I think, and I
Yeah, the
remember being
scout
down here, I think I was here every 2 weeks for a period of like 4 years. We just kind of rolled the cadence. It was almost part of my life.
You came in, but you didn't have an application and you were like, oh, what am I doing?
You've aged gently.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, I know,
So-
muscle memory just
You've
brought me
aged
here.
gently.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
it being, 8:45. We're gonna continue the hearing, the notice of intent for 0 Maple Street, Maple Gate. Installation of electrical line as part of a proposed solar array parcel 3 project above referenced subject parcel located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW. Daniel Server, 117 Huntington Ave, Boston. Daniel Wells, LEC Environmental Consultants, Inc., Lowell Street in Wakefield, Mass. And also potentially Austin Turner from Boulder.
Potentially, I'm here, Mr. Nemrio. So, thank you.
All right.
So I think, and I have Allison Fennell on the Hollywood Squares there, and Dan Wells, who's representing or joining me as my emotional support network. So I mean, and tell me if you disagree. I think the order is advancing.
Yeah.
It's not completed by everybody's acknowledgement, right? We provided some feedback on it to the extent that there was some things that may have gotten ported over from a different project copied in, acknowledging that this is kind of being advanced. So those things I think are fairly simple. There's nothing, we're not talking about any substantive feedback here like we were doing with the other application. These are more like, hey, that's not applicable because it's something else, like we're filling, it references filling a bike lane, but none of that's happening here, so that should just be struck. There was another one, same as, it says same as above, I think it was comment 46. It was, or condition 46 was not applicable to this project, I think. And then 23 and 43 were redundant in that they were both saying an environmental monitor should be employed. I think there just needs to be consolidation there. It wasn't anything of substance. And then I think condition 44 referenced condition 56, and this order doesn't extend to 56 conditions, so. Absent that, there was no real feedback or questions. I think everything seemed pretty straightforward. The project frankly is pretty straightforward, particularly in consideration of what we've been dealing with the last 18 months. So I think it's allow Hannah and the team to finish the order of the commission, and then we'll see you again when everything is. And I think the only thing I ask respectfully is that the order be provided when the commission is comfortable, just so that we can become familiar and then be prepared to talk with the commission at the next meeting. Like we did with the last application too. So,
What's your time frame on having it to us so we can review it before meeting? Can we have it to us?
The current draft,
Or the,
it's already on there.
no,
The more definite draft.
Yep.
My
should we
plan,
push this to the 24th?
yeah. Because I'm doing this one by myself. I wasn't doing this with Matt, but I was gonna have Matt review my work. Just because it's more straightforward, I thought that I could do that.
Yep.
So I think that I could have this to Matt. Probably by the end of the week to review. So giving him time.
we target that, I mean, so I'm just thinking, should we target the 10th as I know we're pretty eager to get going on this one. And it
I
sounds
thought
like
this was the end of the, I thought this was at the end of the project for you folks.
what do you mean?
I thought this was like the last piece in your domino of
Oh,
actually.
yeah, it's the last
construction.
piece, but I think they want to get all the entitlements just buttoned up, because it's to deal with all like the other.
Financing and all that.
Yeah, all, it just,
Okay.
permitting matters.
All the permits.
Yeah.
What is the construction stream?
I don't know that offhand, but I can tell
Is
you,
it this summer?
I think they want to get started immediately, yeah.
The reason I ask is you can still buy
memberships?
Yeah,
I think the intent is to get started.
Sounds like a scam.
As quickly as possible, yeah, right.
I think this year they're gonna run right through the golf. And then I'm assuming at the end of
They
the
probably
season.
started as soon as that's available. I haven't been privy to those conversations, but I imagine they're happening. One thing, or into the commission for that matter, that I just wanted to tease out. I know there was some discussion about we're gonna have that short run where we're directionally drilling the wetlands, or directionally drilling under the wetland to install the electrical run. I didn't see anything that expressly documented here, but my recollection of the conversations, at least I talked to Greg and the team, was that the commission wanted to just make sure that there was oversight on that, if you will. And given that the specific directional drilling contractor has not been contracted yet, and each one of those may have slightly different things that they're gonna handle it, I think the commission wanted to make sure that we, as the applicant, came back to you as almost a confirmatory discussion, just to make sure means and methods were consistent with the expectations that we've already set forth. And I think that language might want to find its way in.
Well, we're gonna condition a pre-construction meeting.
Okay, and then that in turn can be the vehicle to which that gets discussed. Okay.
will we be in attendance for that pre-con?
Not typically, but we certainly can be, if you're available. It's typically handled by the staff.
No, it would be during business hours, I think.
Sorry. Anything that's put on my schedule the next 3 months, I'm like,
Yeah,
we'll figure it
you
out.
can wrangle me in on
We'll
that.
we'll have to work out, but yeah, typically on all large projects, we always have a pre-construction meeting just so that everybody, the contractors typically come into that, just so everybody's, been physically handed a document and they all understand, everyone understands their responsibilities.
Maybe even a narrative from the contractor of how they're gonna do this. So, the entry point and the exit point are all within 100 feet of the,
Yeah, I think they're,
Oh, yeah,
right, like the push and.
it's a tiny little piece of upland in that.
so what's the depth of the wetland? You know,
I don't know offhand. I don't know if Dan knows that off.
so the board is familiar with a push as far as what the process is?
Customarily, they'll go 3 or 4 feet down with that.
I believe I heard 8 feet last.
Yeah, they're gonna go deeper than that.
Yeah, they have to
So it's
go
a hydraulic
Yeah.
push,
Yeah.
and they're planning on going under it instead of disturbing it.
And then there was some conversation about what the conduit was going to be made out of, make sure it was.
I think all of that, sometimes, they'll have slightly different preferences, but all that stuff can be brought to the pre-construction meeting and make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll already have a contractor lined up and they'll already know how they're planning.
They want to set it up, and it's not gonna be a markedly different, but there's just little nuances that whoever does it.
Yeah, so I think the board needs to be provided with the narrative as well as, so prior to the start of work, we also have monthly job meetings where they need to present the narrative and how they're gonna mobilize and what they're gonna do as far as the project as a whole, and that would include this process as well. So as long as the board is comfortable with the narrative that they provide with them, we'll take it under advisement in the project meeting with all the
Again.
department heads.
The construction may start on the back parcel, putting in.
Yep.
The panels and doing all that work.
Right.
That's completely separate from what we're talking about.
Exactly.
We're gonna have a meeting before they start working on this
And-
permit.
Exactly, and after your meeting, we'll also have a meeting.
So, that won't be for,
A while.
yeah, the kid will be in preschool.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll put that on my calendar.
Don't. They're not gonna, this isn't the first thing they're gonna do on this project.
Okay.
Austin, is there a performance time or date or whatever?
I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's, like you said before, I think it's predicated partially on.
Maybe in the fall.
But the representations about this piece of the project was that it was very late stage.
Yeah.
Like they need to get everything built in the back, and as they're trying to get the wires out, then.
My understanding, it's not the first thing they're gonna.
No,
Yeah,
it's
maybe we're talking the fall, maybe.
might even be after that.
Okay.
I mean, I think,
And it's gonna be at a low, it also has to be,
Low water.
it also has to be at a dry time.
Okay.
So it's probably gonna be,
That's gonna be a condition.
yes, oh, yes.
yeah, so I mean, it'll be incumbent on us as the application team to come in like you said, the narratives, the means and methods, and have that all established.
It may be, you know, it may be high summer, but it would be next summer. So-
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hannah, the order of conditions draft starts with the number 21 on the first page. Is there a reason that 0 through 20 isn't there?
Because there's a general order of conditions with every order of conditions, that's 1 through 20.
You didn't stick that? Okay, I thought that was the case. I just wanted to not assume that it was just a numbering thing.
No, it's on the DEP filing.
It's on the DP. Okay, I knew it was somewhere else that the general rest of it was. Since it started on page 1, I knew we weren't missing a page. It was just the numbering. Okay, thanks.
I think it would be fair to do April 10th. Unless something shockingly happens to me this weekend. It will.
It won't.
In which case maybe we would continue, but I think it's fair to say April 10th. If you guys want, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, as long as we have it with enough time to, like I said, digest.
Yeah,
Digest it prior to the meeting so that we don't come in
okay,
stone cold.
sounds good to me.
Okay, so, any other? Mr. O'Haran, any comments?
No, it sounds like it's pretty much moving the way it should be on this one. Sounds good.
Motion continue to the evening of April 10th, time to be determined.
Seconded.
Discussion. Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Michael O'Hara.
Yeah. Right,
Okay. Just because I know that they're on here, Teresa is here representing for New England.
thank you.
New England Power Company, they sent us a notification letter, I put it in the portal. Yeah, she's just here to answer any questions. Wait. Oh, there she is, she just moved, okay. If there are any questions about that letter.
This is the herbicide treatment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nope. This is the structure repair.
Oh, shoot,
Well,
no, the one a month ago was. If you wish to share. Okay. Do you wanna, Teresa, just say in summary what you guys are gonna do?
So there's two structures on the C-129 line that they're gonna be going in and doing overhead repairs. The tower I have above me is not high enough, but they're gonna be repairing the cross arms that are at the top of the structure. So to do that, there is one area where they do need to place temporary construction matting down in order to access a structure that's in a wetland. And then the other location that they're going to be accessing is within the buffer zone.
When you say the matting, is it gonna be I assume they're bringing in a bucket truck or a crane?
Yep. Yep. So the bolted together timber matting that you see, they'll be placing that down in the wetland so that they can bring equipment in and not damage the wetland.
It's gonna be a rubber mat, not the railroad tie bridge work?
No, they typically for bucket trucks, they will use the timber matting.
Good night.
Mhm.
Timber mats.
Yep.
And when are we proposing to do the work?
I don't have a defined schedule slated for this year. Certainly we can, when we know exactly when it's scheduled, we can follow up with the commission and give notice if need be.
I mean, obviously, we'd prefer it at the time when the plant life is a little more dormant.
So it's 160. That's in house.
But.
Yeah, I guess.
It generally does bounce back pretty well when they use the mats. Within a season, you can't tell that they were there usually.
Yep.
Typically, so it's been our experience on this one. We've had quite a bit of work done on this line over the past few years, so.
Yes.
But there are no new structures. It's just work to existing structures.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a lot less invasive than
Mhm.
putting in new poles.
is this the transmission line just after the cemetery on Hartford Ave, heading toward Maple?
I don't know.
So the access points into this one, one access is off of Route 126. And then the other one comes
See, where do we
in
look
Yeah.
at?
Maple Street.
What's what is the address on 126? Is there a number?
I don't have I don't have a specific address.
I
So this
see-
points the power company on both sides.
What's that?
It'll point the power company. It's on Maple Street.
I think it's farther up.
And what
Able to share.
Oh, A and
There you
P.
go.
There we go. Thank you.
I see
So
that, a desktop review was done, and there's a couple of different sources mentioned. Is this on the Army Corps of Engineers property?
The parcels themselves,
Yeah.
that I don't, I can't comment on. We didn't look at the specific ownership
So there's no
of the
stream,
parcels.
we're not crossing the river, the brook with a northern access, are we?
No.
Okay.
There's another map that was provided that shows the detail of the access. Hannah, I don't know if you have
Not
that,
in this
but
document?
but I can share it.
Yeah, if you
Sure.
wanna share.
Can I screen share?
Oh, there it is.
Let's see.
Pam, can you
Yep.
give the access, please?
You're all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is structure. I have to zoom in myself. I can't. Okay, 448. Can you guys see this? Okay. Should I zoom in?
Yeah.
Okay. So to get to this structure in here, they'll come in off of 126. So you gotta flip back to this page. They'll come down in here, using existing access. And they'll be doing overhead repairs on this structure.
Right.
And then, so here's the Charles River. So the structure itself, 441, is within the wetland adjacent to the Charles River,
Okay,
but there's
so
no
you're,
crossing
okay,
here.
all right, so no crossings, okay. Good.
Yep. So they'll come in down this stretch. Here's Maple Street.
Based on all the nothing is done. I think I'm ready.
Any other questions on this area?
No? No one else? No questions? Okay. That's that.
What's that?
Thank
If,
you.
If you could, Teresa, if you could just, inform the commission prior to commencing the work, just so we're aware, if you have to field any calls or anything like that, we know when it's going on.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you all very much for your time.
All right, good night.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, and right beside the power plant.
One of them.
Then the second one she showed.
Okay, so we sent out a couple dot loops. A lot of you guys have already signed them, but just to formally state them, Lakeview Estates Parcel C, I went out there today just to triple check that they did the things that I asked them to do. They have, it's good, Rain Garden's good. So sign it if you haven't yet. No, he did. 160 Mechanic Street was your guys' site visit. I heard it went well.
It did.
Yes.
It went very well. It's, I think it's one of those cases, where, we put things on a piece of paper and it looks great. And then, we'll put badges along the edge and then you go out there and the edge of their parking lot is 30 feet above the wetland, and, the wetland's way down there, and you can't, there's no place to put a badge up here.
Right.
A slope that I wouldn't necessarily want to walk down.
Oh, hell no. Ski down if there was,
Yeah,
appropriate
it's all
snow
gravel.
cover.
Right.
So, we looked at certain areas and we asked the applicant to install some badges down at the base of the slope on some live trees. Spaced at regular intervals. There was one small area where some trash due to snow plowing had gone over the edge. As soon as the landscapers were on site, he was gonna have them deal with that. And we did mention ongoing trash, cleanup and keeping the site, clean, because anything that gets around in there is gonna go over the edge and down into the well, so. The resource areas, so everything looked good from our point of view.
Seemed very cooperative.
Yeah, oh yeah, nice guy, that's a big damn warehouse.
99 days, right?
That's a big damn warehouse.
Yeah, that was a,
Hey,
very low impact to my community for that warehouse. Luckily, I mean, most of their traffic goes out, takes a left and hits 495.
Yeah, Franklin would
Yeah.
move and say boo.
Yeah,
I don't think they have a ton of traffic.
That was a good, so there was a detail, that was required by the planning board before the DOT approved the lights for that section. And that went on for almost a year. So they funded a detail, and that was in the decision of the planning board, and it was very, very low impact. So it's been really good for the town.
Well, what percentage occupied is it?
100,
Yes,
one company.
one company in there.
So Trimark is a restaurant supply company. They design commercial kitchens. They don't sell food or anything like that. It's all supporting wear for restaurants.
So hoods, counters.
Yeah, they actually have a shop in there where they bend, stainless steel, and they design the kitchen and then they build and install. And supply material.
But the site was, from our point of view, I think the site was, was well done.
Yeah.
It seemed to be well constructed. It seems to have done everything that they.
That replication area was something
It's very
when
nice.
they did it. Yeah, they actually drove trees in, for habitat. It really went, it was pretty good,
Yep.
It's interesting.
That's out in between heading for 126.
Exactly.
Yep.
To the right of that.
They improved that part down there where we're looking down the hill from near where you will park that down in there.
Yeah, it's
So,
all flat, the
Yeah,
pines.
it's very nice down
Yeah,
there.
we used to go and we would go to the site and the trailer was in that spot about near 126. And we'd get in the four-wheeler and we'd go up. Now you couldn't do it because it's straight up now. Where they
That-
stabilize.
That former parking lot where the trailer was and the access gate is becoming overgrown.
Yeah, that's
For
great.
another couple of
Yeah.
years, you won't even be able to tell the parking lot was there.
Perfect.
probably.
Yeah.
Which is-
Granite Cliffs or something too, or whatever
Yeah.
that stone is.
Yeah, oh, the cut.
Yeah.
So the future cut, do you see where the road goes in? Yeah.
Yeah. What are they gonna end
That
up
red
with, like
mill.
a, like a section?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be cut.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Everybody's gonna have to buy a mountain
can
goat
make
or a
some
donkey or something.
Yeah.
I know.
Hire Sherpa guides to get them up to.
So, sorry, I'm going back to business.
Yep.
Colleen's here and I did have a clarifying question for her. Cause, for the bond release, I needed to put a name on there and the original name on the filing is Sean. Which I don't know if he's been on our emails at all, and so I just wanted to make sure, is that where the bond should be going back to still?
Sean Chrism is still with us. The development that we did, I don't know if it's possible to put it in LPC Commercial Services LLC. I know when they started the development, it went under, I think it was LPC Northeast.
She was wondering if I'm allowed to put it under LPC Northeast just in general, instead of specifically Sean, who was the applicant.
Oh, no, it shouldn't be Sean. It should be the LPC Northeast.
Yeah, don't cut Sean a check.
No, it's Sean with the title of the
he's- yeah,
company.
yeah.
Yes,
but-
he's still here.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Wasn't sure because he wasn't in any of the email chains.
If you're gonna start cutting checks to people.
You want 307?
No comment. Share.
Okay, I think that's it, unless Colleen, you have anything to add to that, your certificate.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so when they all sign it, I will send it out, and you're done.
Great. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
and then
you.
the others were 9 Bliss, that order of conditions needs to be closed by next Wednesday. So if you haven't signed that one, we just released it today. That one's the priority.
I think it's all signed.
Is it?
And that's just,
I haven't checked.
that's just
Yeah,
the
no.
septic, so.
The only one I haven't signed is the South Center Realty LLC one.
That one, so that's Lakeview Estates, partial C.
And I just didn't understand.
Yeah, so technically you don't even need to sign it because if you're not comfortable with it, because you weren't here.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't know anything.
It's just the Candlelight Lane, Northern Lights, what's the other, Celestial,
Yes.
Something.
Lovers Lane.
Lovers Lane, thank you. It's that development.
About the end of Easy Street, Douglas Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Connects down,
The
connects
rain
down
garden.
to,
There's a
connects down to, connects down.
Eventually the Silver Lake. down
Yeah,
that
connects
side.
down to Silver Lake in the back.
There was an isolated wetland there and then they added to it as one of their replication.
Mount Bliss is 100%.
They did a nice job.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so it was an ad. I was trying to understand.
We had issues with rain gardens and stuff like that.
No, I actually used to walk that area a lot and, yeah.
Rain gardens.
We need,
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of
it
erosion.
was a lot of work in progress and they've got it to a point.
Rain
where
gardens
it's
are
working.
useless. but-
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
finished, Dennis?
Okay, well, the last one was the enforcement order that, I sent out as well. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions on that. But I saw your comment,
It's our friend,
Thank you.
our friends on Bellstone.
yes.
That's based on, that came about. Did you talk to Mike before issuing, or did you just issue on your own, or I don't know?
No, we talked a little bit, I mean, I saw the email and so forth. This was because they hadn't responded to us in any other way, and I thought I was gonna just double check the commission right now. I thought that the last time we discussed this in the meeting, there was a verbal consensus to do enforcement order if the applicant wasn't, or not the applicant, the property owner who was in clear violation of some wetlands areas there wasn't gonna respond, which they apparently are saying they aren't going to.
Yeah, I just hadn't heard anything after that. All of a sudden it was, that discussion and then enforcement order. So it was like.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there was discussion even between me and Tim
There's
about
usually a
the
little-
history of that and.
There's usually a little more before we.
I read it and got the context, so. I was like,
Yep.
"Yes, she
Well,
liked
do
it."
we need to tie anything up with
I
a
like the context.
confirmatory approval of that before it gets, since it's being signed, in the process of being signed, if there's something we still need to vote on to make sure it's legally everything's covered before
I
sending it
think-
out?
I think you're right that you might actually have to vote on it, because there's something on the document that says that you do.
For the final certificate of compliance.
Enforcement order.
Go for the enforcement.
Oh, okay, to release it.
Yes, to release it. There is. Where did I see that? Okay, so if it needed immediate action, it would be okay if one person signed for the whole commission, but at the next scheduled meeting, it would have had to be ratified by the majority.
So
So basically a vote, majority,
we should vote, yeah.
yeah.
Well, maybe after everyone takes a look at it.
Everyone signed except Steve.
What?
Everyone has signed except Steve, so I'm assuming if those people signed,
I just signed it.
Well, I guess if we've all signed it, then,
We should officially vote on it.
so, we should probably take a vote. And, so I will entertain a motion to issue the, enforcement order on
19.
19 Bellstone Circle
Oh, I forget, we looked it up. We were surprised. I think it is Drive.
Drive, Bellstone Drive. So start over. I'll accept a motion to issue the enforcement order on 15 Bellstone Drive, Bellingham. as referenced and reviewed by the commission already.
19.
19. 19.
So moved.
Amend that, yes.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Michael Heron online.
Okay.
Unanimous.
And then not to hold you guys longer, but like we're 3 months behind on voting on minutes. And so if we could just vote on some of them to get that caught up, that would be great. Tina is also, this is her last meeting, so I really don't want to put the past stuff on the new person, if possible.
So what nights, which ones would you like us to,
So we have not voted on October 25th, which I just found out this past week, when I was going through that we didn't formally vote on that. So that one can wait if you guys want me to resend that one. But both January's, I believe, and both February's and March. Yep. Kai sent them all in the recap email. Oh, yeah. Say it with confidence.
Oh,
Can we
I
do
thought you-
those DocuSign?
You don't need this.
no, you don't need to sign them.
Oh, you want me to put them up on?
No, I was just thinking, can we vote on them?
How do you?
No,
No.
we have to vote in a meeting.
Not gonna lie, I haven't been keeping up. I feel like
I
there was
have
one
done
where I was
edits
like
them.
not on it.
I know Mike has.
What do you say, Mike?
I think we should vote on at least the January and February. If people haven't reviewed them by now, I know Hannah has done edits with the interns who've been working on them, and I glanced through them and I didn't see anything remarkable, but I could have missed something. I'm not totally on top of things right now, but I think it's important that we get somewhat caught up here. It doesn't look really good for us to be that far behind on minutes.
Well, Mike
So-
almost always catches whatever I do and more, so.
So I make a motion to accept the January and February meeting minutes as reviewed and currently.
We should
edited.
do them one at a time.
Or at least the dates.
February time?
Or we can reference the dates. We'll reference all the dates precisely. So that's January 10th, January 24th, February 14,
28.
and 28. All right, so I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of January 10th, 2024, January 24th, February 14th, and February 28th, and then all of 2024.
So moved.
Since I wasn't a member of the board, I'm not sure I should.
I'll second.
Motion been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Michael Hearn online. So are we holding the October, or does Hannah need to resend those? That's not clear.
I'm gonna resend them just because
Yeah, if you could, please.
You didn't vote?
Aye.
Yeah, just in case. I mean, I'm sure they were sent a while back, but just to
Makes
keep it
sense.
fresh, I'll resend them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you would be so kind to make a note that if anybody's going on a site walk, the warehouse, Tim, what's the address at the corner of Maple and 140 there, the new warehouse?
No, that is 206.
206. There was a detention basin that was down behind the paper warehouse. It was a shared detention area basin. That was negatively impacted during the early part of the construction. I saw it. We pointed it out. The silt fence had been breached by some poor grading, attention to grading. I don't know. I think that they repaired it, but since the site is pretty well far along, I think it might behoove us, if someone is in that area and wants to take a walk, the best thing to do was, unless you want to go through the site and ask for superintendent, was to just park in the parking lot down behind the paper warehouse and walk down along the back side of the fence line. But that's an area that hasn't been seen for eyes on for a while, and it may be fine, but it'll only take a moment if someone happens to be going by there, verify. It doesn't need a whole site walk, but just, something to see.
Yeah, so Michael, we had a meeting with the contractor last Monday. And they invited myself, the fire department, DPW, and they did not invite Hannah. And I recommended that they get a hold of Hannah. Did you get that email, Hannah? From
Yeah,
Kathy?
they wanted to try to get me to do a site visit before my maternity leave, and I was like, I can't walk a site.
Yeah, I can definitely go down there, but I did suggest that the Concom needs to put their eyes on it prior to any kind of TCO. They're not ready for an occupancy.
What's a TCO?
TCO would be a temporary occupancy permit until they have a tenant. So we can give them a TCO, but it doesn't allow them to occupy the building until they have a tenant. Because it falls into life safety stuff. I mean, conservation doesn't hold them up from getting occupancy because, they still have an obligation through conservation to fulfill their agreement and the order of conditions, so they can get a release, so they can get a release and record it from the registry of deeds. So I recommended at that meeting that they reach out to the Concom, and Hannah, if you're not, if they're not ready for a site walk, I can most certainly step in, or I can notify the commission, and they can definitely be present, and we could walk the line in the back that Michael's referring to.
That's basically what I told her. I said that, like, I would bring it up to you guys, and if someone's available in the next month, like, we can.
What's the address?
206 Mechanic. It's the corner of Mechanic and Maple Street, that warehouse.
Yeah.
Well, we could potentially, again, I'm out of town the next 2 weeks. We could potentially, it's far enough out, we could potentially, schedule sidewalks on the 13th. Saturday morning.
I think that would be good. Get your eyes on it.
That might give us a few days.
Yeah, sure.
Some time.
If they need to correct anything, you can get them at that point. They're not looking for TCO that soon, but I think they might be talking to a tenant right now. And they did mention maybe a mail sorting
Are you
tenant.
part of the planning board process at all on that? Did you attend any of the meetings?
Yes, so the status of the planning board now, so they would have to meet the conditions of the planning board's decision. And that's what we work toward when we issue occupancy permits. They have to have, so a TCO, the only thing they can avoid is the landscaping part, and they would have to put up a bond, for that remaining obligation through the planning board, for their planting schedule, the growth of the landscaping, and also that particular site had it had conditions in it that required them to construct a stone wall that matched the opposite side. And it also incorporated a sign, and it was a masonry constructed integral to the wall. So it had some granite in it, and it was like a welcome to Bellingham sign. And also their facade needed to be certain colors. So actually tomorrow night, they're in front of planning board for a second presentation. They wanted to change the colors to the building, for instance, and they wanted to get rid of the wall. Well, that wasn't an option for them. That approval was based on what they proposed and what
The wall on the other side where?
on the opposite corner that's in Franklin. It's a
Okay.
cut stone wall.
The reason I ask you that is you cannot get a fire truck around that corner.
Well, so
At
they
all.
can't get an occupancy permit until the corner's constructed as well. That lane is still gonna open up.
There is no lane. It's
Yeah,
been
so it's
graded.
not constructed yet. So they need DOT approval before they get occupancy. So they have certain, the contractor has certain measures that they have to perform to get, whatever their conditions are in their contract with the owner. So they can get a TCO, but a TCO doesn't give them occupancy to the building. The TCO says, hey, we completed all our work, but it's not an occupancy. They need to have occupancy based on a use. So that's how that comes into.
They've pulled up, there's piles of siltation control materials piled up in the corners here, it looks like they're pulling it up.
Yeah, it has to be
And
stable before
piled.
they can do that.
So somebody might wanna.
Yeah, so I can definitely go.
I
out
came
there.
by there on the way here
Okay.
and it looks like, it used to wrap around something and now it's all piled up. Now, maybe it's not necessary.
Right.
It may not be necessary anymore, but there's piles
Well,
of green waddling.
yeah, it would be necessary on the Maple
This
Street
is out
corner,
front.
all the way around.
Yeah,
And
so
to the front, no. but-
I don't know where they
Yeah.
pulled this stuff up, but there's piles of
Yeah.
siltation.
That's why I
control.
suggested, they hadn't invited Hannah to the meeting, and I said, look, Hannah needs to be included in
That's
this.
not right. They should invite him.
Yeah. So they know now, they just they didn't do it on purpose. They really.
They don't not like Hannah.
No.
Hey, Tim,
I have a point of order for him.
What's your point of order?
1060 Pulaski. Lumberton. They're encroaching on conservation.
Where is that?
Hannah.
Wait a
You
minute,
have-
hang. We're done with the, so, yeah.
206.
All right, 206, I just wanna have a clear. So everybody look at your schedules, maybe we'll schedule further sidewalks on the 13th. That's as soon as I can do it. If you guys can get out as a group and go look at other stuff in the meantime, I don't have to be there, but
I'm not available on the 13th. I'll be in Holland, so it'll be tough for me to.
that would be tough, yep.
You don't have a private jet?
I know, I gave it up.
Oh.
Wow.
The taxes are.
Yeah, the
maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah, the maintenance. Is- yeah. Okay, all right, so we'll work on that. Yes, the lumberjack? Who's
Yeah,
the
we
lumberjack?
drive by the lumberjack.
Is that Sharon Tree?
Sharon Tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
trees.
What's
yeah.
going on over there?
They really encroached on our property.
In the back? They
Yeah.
went back?
Yeah. Yeah. we
Very
found this out during
They have done that
the
before.
week.
We have had this conversation with them before.
Really?
Oh, yeah, years ago.
I think we're gonna have to have it.
Oh.
Because unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're stopping anytime.
Is it a wetland or is it conservation property?
Conservation property. It's wet down in the back.
Okay.
There's a strip of land next to them in the house. We own access out to, Pulaski Boulevard. And then it goes it's a big piece of land. It's mainly the dirt bike part.
Do we have it, is it staked out or is there any monumentation or anything, do you know?
I don't see it as marked as.
No, I don't think it's marked.
I
But
didn't
they-
I didn't notice that.
I think, we could probably have.
No, but I mean, I never saw plackets or anything.
Yeah, well, we don't have to ask them to access the conservation land, but to kind of go back, meander back and forth to see where they are, maybe we could, set up something, before you go, Hannah. I can definitely get you in there.
Yeah, I mean,
And I could join you on it.
okay.
Yeah.
It's, I'll just share the map real quick. I mean, this is just Google Maps.
We can put that on the 13th as well.
If you open my huge PDF on the open space thing, there's like a tick
Oh,
mark.
right. See that, obviously I don't have the assessor's parcel on Google Maps, but it was basically all of this.
Yeah, if we can,
Actually, you can if you turn off the Orspec.
if we can pass and repass on the town property, we have no problem. You know what I mean?
On the layers over there in the bottom.
But
left.
to act, if we can gain access on the town
Sometimes you get the
property,
parcel later
we don't
than
have to
that.
consult them. But to meander back
You might
and
have to
forth, it's
zoom
kind
in.
of, you can't go on someone's property, but. We can most certainly, if
Okay,
we can
oh,
access
sorry,
it
okay,
from
yeah.
the town property, we can sure.
So that's, yeah.
Right, our access is possibly down here or on this side.
I would just open, if you are logged in, I open.
There's a strip of this.
Or I can have.
On
that
top
comes out here.
Or, I don't know,
a couple
or like open space.
So
Oh.
the
I
strip
can
goes in
look,
here or.
I
goes
can look
in
on
here.
our GIS and see where our strip is.
Hang on, 30
Hang on.
seconds. Where's my
We're on.
drive? It's over here.
Arian's on it like a rash.
I started.
HR will be calling.
No, she's on.
How often, just because you're on it, how often do we actually mark conservation?
Never.
Never?
I mean,
It'd be nice, just,
We
you know,
do-
we do have some response.
One of these days, I mean, parcels like this, we should probably hire a surveyor.
Yeah.
Get it surveyed,
And
Mine
would say, don't
Oh,
quote
the
me on
frowning
this.
face.
Because right now it's probably pretty squishy. where the
Yeah,
line is.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
our strip
So
right
it's
there.
right there.
Oh, that's right. in the wetland. So, yeah.
So, oh, wait a minute.
Is that the only
Oh, no,
access
okay,
to
so
it?
this is, okay,
Is
so
there
this
access
is
to it on the back?
The blue box is
Nice.
us. So you see here,
Wow.
they've gone,
okay.
and this is wet. This is a dirt bike park
Yeah,
And a landfill.
and a landfill.
that was a land.
What's the yellow boxes, Marion?
Those are other town-owned parcels.
Right, so this is town property,
That's tax saving. One.
and there's town property up here as well.
So this is. So we can gain access to
That-
everything in the blue line is conservation.
Right, that's our frontage on that
Yep,
parcel,
that's
right?
right. Yeah, so this is, this belongs to this person.
Mary Ann, how did you know?
Well, I think that's what Neil was saying is that there's.
How did you
been
notice?
history
Yeah,
with it.
it's like a page there, but this is owned by that guy.
I think I mentioned it
They
to
were
you like
using
a
this as a
while
lay
ago.
down
and
when
He
they were
like,
doing
for some reason
culvert.
thought this wasn't conservation
That
land.
was causing problems.
Yeah,
It was
it
like-
does. There's a lot of junk in there too, but it's his private property, but there, in fact, I was parked like, that was probably me.
Steve, you wanna come back to open space?
What's that?
You wanna come back to open space?
Well,
Really?
so,
I
I think, Tanner, if you wanna, I can get a hold of him, maybe we could do.
I think I got off prematurely.
Before, you know, we could do that next week if you
Make
want.
sure you get.
You'll let me know.
My hips are.
No, I can drive, we can drive it.
I like don't walk a lot.
Yeah, we can drive.
Oh, drive
Yeah,
the site.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
sure.
Okay.
I can drive it right in.
I mean, passenger princess, I don't
there.
know where to go.
I've got an ATV. I could put you on the ATV.
I had that. Trailer it right to you.
I mean, that works
That's
too.
15 years ago, it was,
Obviously, it's
Alex
not.
owned it.
It's not part of
Now the son took it over, so
County
maybe he's not
yeah.
using it now.
That's not there. Someone didn't crop cut like corn. Yeah.
Establish the line.
Oh, yeah, I think this is actually the one,
Establish it.
like,
They could. They could treat.
I don't know, based on his story,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it's here, but it seems like he's really trying.
Yes, there shouldn't be any
Yep.
access.
I agree.
to property.
I agree.
Yeah.
None, zero.
All right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put
But I
like
think
a
your
stone
point,
fence,
it comes
a
with that.
wall of lumberjacks.
I like that lumberjack, it's cool.
Then he gets the.
I forgot about the.
Yeah.
He's been fixed a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw a
That
new
is-
one that maybe he did, it's like an eagle or something, it's down on Payne Street.
Should we end the meeting?
I believe so.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Hi, Mike Aaron online. See you all.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah.